It's your girl Nachi, and I'm here with.
Damaris, also known by my family as the undefeated Monopoly champion.
One of these days, you're going to give up that T-shirt. I'm telling you right now.
We'll see. We'll see. I think I'll remain undefeated,
uh, yeah, I
but
have
we'll move
hope.
right along.
I have hope. Anyway,
So do the
well,
kids.
yes, we're strategizing. We're strategizing. Anyway, we are here. We're going to get into conscious parenting. Um, this is a style that resonates more with me because it allows me to work on myself and regulating my emotions and teaching my children the same. And so we're going to get into what that looks like and challenges that we all face when raising our children. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, and so am I. Even though I don't have biological children, I do see my nieces and nephews as an extension of my children. And they are, for me, I like to think that I provide some sort of parental guidance in addition to what you do.
Yeah. No, it definitely takes a village.
It does. It does.
And
But,
we all have to be on the same page.
yes, yes, absolutely. And speaking of being on the same page, I thought we should probably start with defining what is conscious parenting, right? Because you hear a lot of things out there, and I also think that it gets conflated with other parenting styles, which we'll
Yes.
get into that.
Hmm.
But I'll share the definitions that I found that I thought were interesting so that we can discuss it from the same starting point. Okay, so def- Healthline.com defines conscious parenting as a term used by various psychologists and others to describe a style of parenting that usually focuses more on the parent and how mindfulness can drive parenting choices. And then on BetterUp.com, they pointed out that conscious parenting is a child rearing philosophy that encourages parents to make mindful, emotionally intelligent decisions in raising their children. Um, and they also discussed how parents are taught to manage their behavior, thoughts, and feelings first and foremost. So, is that something that is that how you define it, Nachi?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I like I like the way Shelley Robinson, who's a conscious parenting coach, I found her on IG, as I find a lot of people out there. But I like the way she describes conscious parenting because she sees that as a three-prong approach. And it, exactly what you just mentioned, but looking at it from this three-prong approach where one, you have the parent, and the
Mm-hmm.
parent is um, learning how to regulate their emotions, being able to help their children be vulnerable and brave and accept themselves. But we're the first model for that to help our children learn to see what that looks like. And so
Right.
we have to take that step in being aware, as you mentioned, of ourselves and our actions and the way we regulate our own emotions when we're dealing certain situations. And then the second prong is the child, right? So you have that solid foundation of the parents who are committed to dealing with their own ish, but they're also
Right.
equipped to create this new um, empowering generational pattern for their children to inherit. So, breaking that cycle that we've
Mm-hmm.
all been accustomed to. And then that third prong, which is different, and I don't think a lot of people discuss that when we're talking about conscious parenting, is reparenting our inner child. So going back to those parts and those narratives and beliefs that doesn't serve us, and redefining what that is for us as an adult and as a parent so that we can then model that to our children. So I like the way that she painted that as a three-pronged approach to what conscious parenting is all about. But it falls under that umbrella of just being
Mhm.
aware and
Right.
identifying those differences between how you react to your children from our ego, from
Mhm.
just, from that calmer, centered state of who we truly are, right? Um, and that is always difficult for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just think that there's you need to give yourself grace and understand as adults the same way we're to look at children, we're human beings, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
we
Hmm.
make mistakes, but it's about, do you learn from your mistakes? What do you do to acknowledge that? And I did want to point out, because I mentioned earlier that conscious parenting sometimes gets conflated with gentle parenting.
Yes.
And I probably might have even thought of that in the past before I even really understood what conscious parenting was about.
Hmm.
And from what I understood, again, by looking up what gentle parenting is, very well, family.com describes it as gentle parenting is an evidence based approach to raising happy, confident children. This parenting style is composed of four main elements: empathy, respect, understanding, and boundaries, and focuses on fostering the qualities you want in your child by being compassionate and enforcing consistent boundaries. It's the approach of using natural consequences rather than punishment or discipline.
Yes, yes.
So, an example would be, if you hit, someone gets hurt, they might hit you back. These aren't enforced, but it's discussed. And I'm not, this is what I found. They were like, it's not enforced, but it's discussed and learned. And I thought, I was like, yeah, that's kind of like that fuck around, find out. But that that's part of like, well, we're gonna let little Bobby learn and see how it goes. And so it's funny because that example that I read
Hmm.
reminded me of my experience with you in high school. And I'll never forget, this is like, I learned so much because they talk about, I shared a meme with our audience, with our followers rather, on IG about how older sisters are like second mothers, right? And so they help guide you, they'll scold you when you need it, and they'll come in protecting you like a mama bear. And those are hashtag facts. That's just a fact. So in high school, I was under 100 pounds. I looked several years younger. I looked like I was 12 years old. And freshman, sophomore year, I was self-conscious for obvious reasons. Growing up in the Bronx, like the guys are just not looking at me because I'm like this little skinny 12-year-old when I'm
Right,
actually 14,
right,
15.
right.
Anyway, I'm getting changed for gym class, and I'm in the locker room with other girls. And there's this girl who, every time I would get changed, we would get changed together, she looks at me and she's always saying to me, "Oh my God, you are so skinny." And not, and please do not get it confused that she was saying this in a complimentary way. She absolutely
Right,
was not. She was like,
right,
"Oh my God, you are so skinny. Like, I can't believe you're this skinny." And I'm just like, yeah, yeah, what, I don't know what you want me to do with what you're telling me. It's not a compliment, so I'm not going to say thank you.
right, right.
So I was getting really annoyed and frustrated with that because I already had my own insecurities. I don't need you adding on your extra sauce.
Exactly.
So I'm sharing this with you, and you looked at me. You didn't ask me what this girl looked like, nothing. You said, "Tell that bitch she's so fat." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, I guess. I mean, she's not, but all right." This girl's on the track team. She's fit. Whatever. She's fine. But the next time we're getting changed, she says again. She comes with her bullshit. So I paused, looked at her, and I said, "And you're so fat."
I bet that bitch didn't say it again.
She turned back to her locker. She didn't see anything. She changed. And that was the last time she ever said that bullshit to me. So I bring this up because that, thanks to my sister, it was a teachable moment for that young lady and for me.
Yes, yes.
Number one, she experienced the consequences of her words.
Yeah. Yeah.
And two, for me, I learned a new way to stand up for myself.
Yes.
It made me become even more observant of people's actions and learn how to use that to my advantage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait. And then
Go
number
ahead. Go ahead.
three, my what I also learned, and I always knew this, I actually didn't learn it, it just validated, it just solidified, that my sister is of the ilk of, I'll do anything necessary for her, so don't let the necessary occur.
Okay.
So I
Say
just
that
need
one more
people to know,
time.
right, she will do anything necessary for her, so don't let the necessary occur. Nachi is a very calm, chill person, but please just don't get her unchill. Just don't make her unchill, and she is fine. So, but that was kind of it was your kind of parenting for me because that wasn't an issue I could really go to mommy and poppy for
Right.
because they would be like, "Who cares, mommy? Like,
Right.
of course you're
Ignore
beautiful,
her.
whatever."
Yes.
But I needed to stop that. I needed for that girl to stop in her tracks, and for that, I am grateful for it. Thank you, sister.
Well, you're very welcome. And let's just say that style has not changed because I have a similar story with my oldest. She was literally, I think, 4. She was in preschool. And I remember we were driving, I'm driving her to preschool, and she's like, "Mommy, this girl keeps hitting me, and I said, "She keeps hitting you. Did you tell her to stop?" And she said, "Yes, I told her to stop. I told the teacher." And I was like, "They haven't done anything?" She said, "No." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, the next time you see her and she hits you, you hit her right back." And she stood quiet. She's like, "Mommy, that's not nice." And so I had to ask her. I said, "Well, is what you're doing working for you?" And she said, "Yes." And I had to let it go because I didn't want to push
Right.
her to be violent, because it wasn't her nature. But I was like, "All right. Well, since it's working for you, that's
Sure.
all right. Keep going." Um But I will say that she does stand up for herself and advocate for herself because there's been experiences later
Yes.
on in life, most recently as her first year in high school, where she had to deal with the situation. And she literally stood up for herself
I love that.
and made sure that she let the powers that be get
Hmm.
involved and nip that shit in the bud. I had nothing to do with that. So it's just like a full circle. It's like, from preschool where, and the funny thing is her father and I, we will rumble for them because I
Yes.
even recall,
Because y'all are from New York City. Y'all are wild.
one time we were at some assembly and all the little kids were up in the front, and I didn't see it, but he saw it. He saw some kid push Maddie, and he was like, "She ain't doing nothing." Okay. So after the assembly, he saw the father. He went straight to the father. He said, "Your child was pushing on my daughter over there."
Right.
And he had to talk to his daughter. He was just like really embarrassed, number one. But I thought that was really good for Madeline to see that, hey, it's not okay for
Right.
someone to do that. You got to let them know. And don't worry, we always got your back anyway. So,
Right. Oh,
but
you're completely fine.
yes, but just going back to her, you know, that style of, yes, you would have to deal with your consequences. Now, gentle parenting has never been anything that I could, that really resonated with me, just because I'm just not very gentle.
Right.
In my approach, period, I try to be. Punishment free is not a thing for me. You will be disciplined and you will
Right.
there I will let you know of your consequences.
Right.
And so
We don't need to wait for the natural consequences.
no, I don't want to. I need
Yeah.
you to deal with what you've done.
But that's
And
why you focus more on the conscious parenting, which I can appreciate, and to me makes a lot more sense, and it's more natural way of engaging with children, because it is looking at the child through the lens of, like, they're a human being, right?
yeah.
And acknowledging that, while at the same time acknowledging your boundaries and your limitations, and forcing you to think through why you're approaching them the way you are, and
Mhm.
then forcing you to recalibrate if necessary.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no. It to me it's important for them to understand boundaries, right? And I will sit and have, like, earlier today I had to have a talk with my son because he wanted to focus more on playing his game. Now, typically, or nah, I'm not going to say typically, what I would like to do is start flipping stuff, right? And
Right.
start yelling and screaming. So I sat there for a few minutes because one, I had to gather myself, right? I had to calm myself down enough to have a conversation with him to let him know what was all on my plate right now. Because
Right.
that's
You were providing the context.
yes. Like, I'm not telling you because I don't want you to have fun. I'm telling you I need you to
Exactly.
do this because this is what I'm dealing with at the moment. And you thinking that your game or your match is the most important thing in the world to do at this moment, ain't it?
Let my nephew
And
live.
no, but it makes me, but you know what's funny is that that is what I would have needed when I was growing up, right?
Yep. And we did not get.
No, it was do what I say, don't ask any questions, just
Right.
do it. This don't and I will admit that I would get frustrated at times when my kids are asking like, well, why or what,
Mhm.
and I'm
I don't have time to explain everything to you, which is true. But at the same time, they, it's only fair to them. Like,
yeah, they
why,
don't
how do we,
understand.
right? How do we expect them to be understanding if we
Yes,
don't take the time to talk them through why it is that we're asking them to do what we're asking them to do?
yeah,
And so that makes,
they need to develop that emotional intelligence, right? Be
and
able
also,
to read
not
the
for
room.
nothing, do you want to be raising somebody that's just going to be a sheep, so that it's like, oh, anyone of authority tells you to do something, you're like, I'm going to do. The government
Yes.
says jump, I will jump.
Yes, yes. And you know what?
No.
And that's the struggle. I think that's
Hmm.
the struggle that we deal with. It's the, well, we need to set structure for our children. So we have to have these rules and we got to do certain things my way. And sometimes your way may not be the right way or the best
No.
way.
Yep.
So listening to what they have to say matters. You know,
Right.
I like I don't know how many times, Damaris, have I gone to you and said, "Can you believe they said this to me?" And you would always come and throw it in my face and say, "But didn't you want kids
You
to
wanted your kids to express
have a
themselves.
voice?"
You were like, I'm going to raise my children so that they can tell me how they feel all the time. And I was just like, great, let me know how that works out for you. But it actually has been working out well. I mean, even though your feelings have gotten hurt sometimes,
Yes.
but your kids are great because you can be very stern with them and they will literally walk away and say, I love you, mom. What? Your mom just like, you knew one and you're like, I love you. But that is a testament, though. That's like because they know where it's coming from. You've already,
Right.
shared with them why I'm telling you to go to bed. Stop playing
Right.
with me.
Right. Right.
Okay, I love you.
Right. But you know what's funny is that I also allow them to deal with natural consequences, though. On
Mhm.
on some level, it's not all the
Yeah.
way that
You kind of have to, though, sometimes.
for example, they don't like to wear their coats and it's cold outside.
Mm-mm-mm.
And most parents will go crazy, like, put on a hat, put on. No, carry your ass on. The other
Hmm.
day, it was snowing. Madeline came home and she was like, you could tell she was freezing, right? And I'm like, you're cold? And she's like, no, I'm warm. She's,
Teeth chattering. Girl,
you
bye. You
just,
know you lying.
she looked like a wet puppy. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, a
Okay.
nice coat, weatherproof coat would have been nice, right? Right? You'd have been
Because
nice
you
and
have that in the
warm.
closet.
Yes. You wouldn't have been wet. Look at you. And
Wow.
she didn't care, but she was cold.
Yeah.
Cold. But you know what? You wanted to deal with that. And what she
Right.
thought, the funny part was she had asked me, she said, "You think you can come get me?" No, I'm busy right now with, a thing called work. So no, I can't go get
Right.
you.
I can't be your personal chauffeur when you have a school bus that can take you home.
Right, right. I'm not gonna drop things just because you decided you didn't want to take a coat or a hat or gloves, which she has all of,
Or she does.
but she doesn't. And Gabriel's the same way. He is the same way. But I allow them to deal with that. Now, your mother goes crazy because she's like, they going outside like, yes,
Oh yeah, no,
they
she's
will
like,
be fine. They will be fine. They will get to a point where they will realize, yeah, I'm going to need to wear warmer
I need a
clothes
coat. I need a coat.
eventually.
Just because I'm below the Mason-Dixon line does not mean that it is 95 degrees.
Yes. Or forcing them to eat things that they
Child,
listen, you don't want to eat it? All right, don't eat shit.
your mother
You
would
can go
would
hungry.
dying
I
when
know
I
I
would not
cook.
eat stuff. Right.
No, yes, she used to get so upset, and you had to eat everything, whether you liked it or not. You had to eat it. And I remember that one time
I
she
did not.
made corn rice, and you did
Disgusting.
not eat it. And I was just like,
Because it was laced with cilantro. She was trying to poison me. Didn't even realize that. It,
just eat it already. You're so annoying.
yeah. And I was like, first of all, I wanted to be like, mind your fucking business because this isn't even bothering you. I don't know how this is affecting your life.
It's
But
affecting me because your mother is going basket case crazy,
yeah, I didn't care.
and we're
And
all
she's like,
dealing with it.
and then she's like, I better not see you eating anything later on tonight. I'm
You're
like,
like,
bet, lady,
okay.
I won't. Okay. Which was killing her even more because already I was underweight. So she's like, oh my
Yes,
God, my
yes,
daughter's gonna wither away. That
yes,
was fine.
yes. And she's still like that with my kids.
Right, right, of
And she's like,
course.
well, did they eat? I said, Mommy, it's okay. Why you worry about if they ate? The food is there. If they want to eat, they'll eat. If they don't, okay.
Yeah, and that comes from, right, again, the clash between the traditional way we were raised, which is very much what I say goes, kind of, very authoritative, versus this coming from a place of mindfulness, being conscious, uh, having the emotional intelligence to understand what's triggering you when you do get upset with your kids.
Yeah.
Like, you're smart in that, or I won't say smart. You're very thoughtful in that. You know, right now you're not in a good place. So you pull back, you pause,
Mm-hmm.
you breathe, you think through what it is that you have to communicate so that they can understand why it is that this is needed from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you, for me, I honestly see this, when I think about the benefits of conscious parenting, it's a way of breaking generational curses, right? I think
Oh,
there was,
absolutely.
like, when I think about how there were certain things ingrained in us that weren't necessarily for the good, it's like
Mm-hmm.
now is your opportunity to be like, I'm not going to continue that. I don't need to continue that.
Right. Right. Nope.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
that is definitely it. And I feel like it develops um a different type of relationship with your children.
hmm
My I find, I mean, you mentioned earlier where even when I blow up, they're they're more understanding. They will come to me afterwards, or they will even tell me at that moment, like, well, you don't have to say it that way.
I love that they check you.
Yes. And I'm like, you right.
Wow, still stuck in her teeth. You're right, I guess.
But I can't even imagine ever saying something like that to
Fixing your
mommy.
mouth to say something like that to
What?
mommy or papi?
Never. Like, you don't have to say. And Bobby was never,
No, he was
harsh
good. He
with
was,
us. He was a balance between.
yes. He was
It,
closer to being a conscious parent than mommy.
yes,
Mommy was set in tradition and
yes,
discipline, and your father was very much, he was about emotional intelligence.
yes.
About, here's why I'm giving you a little weapon at the age of 10, because I need you to protect yourself. I need you to be aware of your surroundings. I swear to God,
Let me tell you.
and I'm so grateful for my father for that, because we were growing up in the
Yes,
Bronx in the
yes.
80s and 90s. Like,
He was like, you
this was
need to
not a time
protect
to play.
yourself. Hmm.
Yeah, he was like, here, you spray this in this person's eye, okay? If someone attacks you, this is what you do. And I'm like, right, thank
Yes,
you.
yes, yes.
But I
But
don't go around like a Pollyanna, thanks to him.
absolutely.
I'm aware of my surroundings all the time.
And know the realities of this world. We knew how to act and move.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I appreciate the relationship that I'm able to develop with my children, because again, they can let me know if I'm off. I could have said something differently, and I'll correct myself. But I also am able to let them know, like, listen, right now I'm just not in a good space. I don't want to have this conversation.
Right.
And I have to shut it down, because I f- I'm able to identify when things are escalating within
Yep.
myself. And I'm able to say, okay, you're about to just scream, you're going to yell, or you're going to say
hmm
something really nasty and hurtful. And you need to take a step back and breathe, and let them know, like, hey, um, right now I can't talk about this, but I'll talk to you about it later. And
Yeah.
and they understand that, and they'll
hmm
walk away, and I'm like, okay, this
Well,
bitch
guess
is
what?
about to go
Because,
crazy.
right. And I think that's a benefit of conscious parenting, because I think you end up raising humans that have more empathy,
Right.
right? Like, because the first the first experience they're going to have with that is with you as their parent, because they have the most interactions with you, with their
Mm-hmm.
parents. So now they're able to be empathetic when you need a moment, the same way you are with them when they need a moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
when they need to calm down.
Yeah. And
And
even
so,
when I'm yeah, and even when I'm
yeah,
wrong about something, I'm also mindful of apologizing to them. And that's something
which growing up
that
we did not
no,
experience.
no,
I
not at
love
all.
that you do that. I love that you do that.
I not at all. And I make a conscious effort if I know I was wrong about something, like, damn, I shouldn't have said it that way.
You're like, I guess I gotta say sorry.
Let me go apologize to them, you know? And what I also do too, I keep reminding them that I'm human. Like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck up.
Yes,
I'm human. I'm
right.
not
But
I'm
you
not
know what? It's
superhuman.
so good because a lot of things that I read about when people are healing through their inner child trauma as an adult is viewing their parents through the lens of they are also human. They were
Yes.
going through their human experience. They were not perfect.
Nope.
And so they made mistakes along the way, and they likely made mistakes with you along the way.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the fact that you keep reminding your children that I am human
Yep.
is great because then they will not put you on this pedestal of being a superhero. Not that there's anything
Yes.
wrong with that, first of all. Number one, no one can ever step in your shoes or take your title of being their mother. So you are already in a unique position that no one can ever be in. So you
Right.
don't have to pretend to be a superhero,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Like,
Yes.
and so
Mhm.
you shouldn't. Your child shouldn't think of you as that, but they should think of you as you're a human being that is looking out for their best interests, that wants nothing but the best. But since you're human, you also make mistakes. And
Absolutely.
and I think that's a great reminder that you tell your children about that. This is where I'm at with that. It's
Yeah.
funny that you bring up the apology part because I came across this trauma therapist on IG, and she had like these these things that she wanted parents to stop doing as a trauma therapist. And for the most part, her list was, I agreed with most of it. She said like treating them unfairly because the world isn't fair. This doesn't actually prepare them for anything other than lifetime of traumatization. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, it all depends.
Right.
I think
Right.
contextually, yeah, I agree with that. Seeing your children as an extension of you, there's so much more than this. I would absolutely agree with this. But then she said one thing that I just did not agree with, which she said, believing they should be grateful because you feed and house them. This is your job. Now, I agree with the part that as a parent, you sign up to take care of your child, to obviously provide shelter and food, and then some. But this idea of that you shouldn't expect your child, or what was the word that she exactly said? She said, believing they should be grateful because you feed and house them. I absolutely believe they should be grateful that
Yeah.
I feed and house them.
Yeah.
It it is that very concept of this is why I feel like a lot of children today have a sense of entitlement because it is just things are provided and it's like, yes, of
Yeah.
course you should have this. And no, absolutely not. How about every morning I wake up and I thank the creator for allowing me to wake up and to take this breath?
Yes.
Because we take that for granted every second that
Right.
our body works for us. We
Right.
take that for granted. So, no, children should be grateful that they have shelter and food.
Yeah.
And I know with my parents, while they never threw it in our face, they provided us with context of how they grew up to remind us, like, you guys have it really good, but not make us feel bad about it.
Right.
All it did
Right.
was make me feel very grateful for it,
Yeah.
not entitled.
And I think that people, to me, I feel feeding and providing shelter for your children, that's basic stuff, right?
Table
And let's ju-
stakes.
and let's just all agree that we give a whole lot more than just feeding and providing shelter for our
Yes.
kids. So yeah, I'm going to want you to be a little bit appreciative about all those times that I take you to your practices, getting
Mhm.
you those expensive ass sneakers, getting you that expensive ass console,
Yes.
taking you to your friends. And yes, I need you to be a little bit grateful for that. Yeah, because
Yes.
you don't, not many. other kids even have that, right? And I feel like when people say that, make that comment as, oh, we shouldn't, make our children shouldn't be grateful, we shouldn't expect them to be
Right.
grateful for the basics of, okay, that's basic. Yes, but are you trying to, we do more than that, the basic, right? We do more than just feeding them. It's a lot more to that. And you're right. We, for the most basic thing in our own life, which is getting up and breathing, we give thanks to God. Because
And that's
that's,
why, right. And that's why I feel like, no, you should be grateful for
yes,
that meal. Like, why are you taking that for granted? Because there are a lot of situations where that may not even be a
not be a,
possibility. And
no.
I, look, I'm not entitled to $1 billion or to a Lamborghini, but I walk out of here with expectancy. I
Okay.
expect the best for me. Now, what the best is, that's up to the creator, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I expect the best. Do I feel entitled to certain things? Absolutely not.
No.
And that comes from the way I was raised. That comes from the way we were raised with our parents. So, guess what? No, I was like, ixnay on that. I'm not with you on that.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, because I feel like
it is
it's a lot.
interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot more to that, and I
And I think
feel
that's, I
we're
mean, and maybe,
trivializing it when
yeah.
they make a comment like that.
And apparently she provided more context, but I just couldn't find where she provided more context on
Okay.
that one. And maybe it was just like to what you're kind of saying, where it's just saying these are table stakes,
Mm-hmm.
those aren't the things that they should be focused on in
Mm-hmm.
terms of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
I
at the
personally
very
think
least,
as
yeah.
table stakes, they should be grateful for that.
At the
Because when I
very
think
least.
about people that I know in certain circumstances, and I know of a family that lives in a shelter,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
telling me that, oh, well, having food and a place to live is tables. Excuse
No,
me?
it's not, because
Excuse me?
sometimes that's a challenge for some
No,
parents.
no,
Sometimes that's a
exactly.
challenge. So you have to be grateful for every little thing that's given to you. And just
Yes,
because, you are a parent, again, I go back to being human. Yes, if I'm, to me, the way I see having children and a family, we're a unit. We got to work together, right? I'm not here just to do for you, and
right,
it's, I'm here to help you to get to a certain point in life, but we working together, right? We working in
right.
partnership,
You're a
and
unit. Yep.
right. And I would say that's one thing that we actually had growing up. It's that we were always a
Hmm.
unit, right? We were
Yes.
always working towards certain things in partnership, right? It's like, okay, these are the things, kind of, going back to Poppy. Poppy was that balance. Like, mommy was the more, she was a stricter parent. She was the enforcer of a lot of things, and Poppy was like, okay, this is how the world is.
Right.
I want to prepare you girls,
Yeah.
to deal with the realities of this world, which may not always be so pretty.
Exactly.
And that's okay. That's definitely
Um,
okay.
Look, he said if it's too good to be true, he said
Mm.
it's probably false. He- He's never been wrong.
No.
Like nothing comes easy in life. Like just
No.
because you really want something really bad, does you have to
Mm-hmm.
do something. I'm not saying you
Mm-hmm.
have to work hard at every single thing, but there needs to be intention and energy put towards that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to hear from you. What are some of the struggles and emotions that you as a parent you feel like you face while on this conscious parenting journey?
This is probably something many parents deal with, but I always struggle that I'm not doing enough. I, that I could do things better, or maybe, or I did something wrong. It's just a whole lot of self-doubt that
Right.
comes into play. And then you start thinking about, like, things of the past, like, you might have done, and you're like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. And maybe that's why they're doing this right now.
Maybe that's why they're driving me crazy.
It's because being a parent is not easy. It's not
Mm-hmm.
easy. And I know there are people out there who like to paint this picture that it's all so joyous. And yes, being a parent is wonderful, but that shit is hard. It's hard
Yeah, I mean,
because
y'all
you're
are
dealing.
walking billboards of contraception.
But it's hard because you're dealing with other human beings. These are our children are human beings. As much as we like to say that we're molding them to be who we want them to be, and sometimes that could be maybe another version of us, right? At
Right.
times we do that where we look at our children and we want them to achieve things that we didn't achieve while we were growing up,
Hmm.
or give them opportunities that we didn't have growing up. And when we say that they don't take advantage of certain things, or they don't do it exactly how we would do it
Right.
in
The
hindsight,
frustration comes in. Hmm.
frustration comes in. And then you start thinking about, oh, what the hell did I do wrong? Did I did I fuck up? You know, like
Right, and it's not
where
even about you
and
doing wrong.
it's
It's just that they're not an
no,
extension of you. They are their own
no,
people.
no. And that's the biggest challenge for me, is letting go of that control, because I'm dealing with that old traditional way of
Yes.
parenting, because that's how I was parented.
Yep.
And also being conscious enough and aware enough to know that my children are human and they have their own path, and they have to make their own decisions about things. And
Hmm.
whether I like it or not, I have to let them
Right.
develop those feelings and create the path that they want, and not one that I create, because oh, I didn't have this opportunity, so I'm giving you this opportunity. You need to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And so and that's a huge challenge, because you're dealing with all these different emotions of doubt, and then you deal with frustration because your children aren't doing what you
Right.
would like them to do, how you like them to do, but they're not robots, right?
Exactly. And when you've shared those challenges with me, and your frustration and guilt of like you thinking that it's your fault that certain things aren't working out the same way, or the way that you would like, they I know I've had those conversations with you and with other friends that have had similar situations where I tell you that sometimes you need to let them fail.
Yes, you have said that
And I
plenty of
know
times.
and I know that that is a
That's
very hard
hard.
thing for you to do. Uh, As a mother, no one and no parent, I won't even say that's only for mother, but no parent, mother or father wants to see their child fail.
Mhm.
But it
Mhm.
is in those failings that we learn.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
we have to learn through our failures, then that means your kids sometimes have to learn through their failures.
Mhm.
And there are times that it takes a lesson of experience for them to truly understand versus taking your word for it.
Right. Right.
Right. And so, and that's not for everything, obviously, but for certain lessons, life lessons, it's like, I told you. And I love my niece and nephew. I love them like
Mhm.
my own children.
Mhm.
I promise you that. But I was just like, you need to let them fall on their face
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because this is exhausting. You've tried everything,
Yep.
and if nothing's changing, then you need to let that go and let whatever's supposed to happen happen
Yes.
because clearly that there's something there that they need to learn.
Yes. Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think about when it comes to you and my other friends feeling guilty too. I- I'm like, you cannot feel guilty. Number one, again, you're human,
Right.
but at the same time, you're your own person and you have your own journey to go through too.
Right. Yeah. No, that
I
is
mean,
true.
even as things like, I know, some of my friends feel guilty for going away with their
Mm-hmm.
partner without the kids
Mm-hmm.
or their spouse
No.
or something, or going on a girls' trip because their kids are like, "Oh my God, mommy, where you going? Why can't I go with you?" Because you can't. I'm my own person. I was a
Look,
person before I had you.
yeah. Look, mommy and papi
And
had no problem traveling without us.
I
None.
laugh at when I think back when your parents were going to Acapulco and Brazil and Haiti vacationing, and I remember asking them like, "Oh, so we're going too?" And they were like, "Oh no, mommy, you have school." They will intentionally
Do it
plan these
around.
trips
Yep.
during the school year,
Yep.
not when we had off,
Yep.
and we would stay with an aunt or a cousin. They would take care of us, take us to school. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what? My parents worked on their relationship
Yep.
and had fun as grown as adults without these kids that are,
Mm-hmm.
fucking Bert holding them down. I mean, sometimes a kid can be an albatross. No, let me stop. I'm just saying, like, you need a break.
Yes. Yes.
You need to cut the ball and chain sometimes.
Yeah, you do.
And
You
guess what?
do.
I never, be- I was probably annoyed for an hour, forgot about it, and I never begrudged my parents for
Yeah.
them
No.
living their best lives. So I also think parents lose out on focusing on themselves, and which means that how can you really be fully present if
Mm-hmm.
you don't prioritize yourself?
Oh,
Which,
yes.
for especially for us who have grown up with Caribbean parents, it is like, what do you mean your children aren't first? No, no, no. You actually need to be prioritized number one, because if you're no good, how can you be good to your own child?
Yes.
How can
Yes.
you be fully conscious and present with your children if you're mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted because you've given everything to everyone else
Yeah.
except for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
That
you're
is
like,
very
why am I
true.
lashing out at my kids? Why am I being triggered? Because you're not even taking care of yourself.
You're not
So,
taking your time. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so when I have friends that like feel guilty about like, oh, I'm not spending New Year's Eve with my kid. First of all, we already know New Year's Eve is a fake holiday because the real New Year's Eve is spring,
Right.
the spring
Right.
equinox. So look, who cares? Your kid is going to be in bed before midnight. Like, stop. Go out, have
Right.
fun, enjoy your life.
Or do something during the day that celebrates the, like, if
Which they
it's
usually
that's so
do, but
important, but
no, but
that's
it's just the guilt.
yes. Yes.
So I think
Absolutely.
that goes into, you know, having self-compassion and
Mm-hmm.
giving yourself grace as a parent. I
Yeah.
think those are key
Yes.
in terms of conscious parenting, because it is about your emotional intelligence so that you're better equipped with being mindful with how you interact with your children.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it takes practice.
Yes.
You have to consistently practice self-reflection.
Hmm.
Um and exploring those triggers that come up or patterns that you see and sitting with that
Yep.
and figuring out, okay, why is this happening? Why am I mad? Is it because, why am I being triggered at this point? And sometimes it's not always because of some inner child's shit. Sometimes
No.
maybe you hangry, or you
Right.
know,
But
or
if you
you're
stop for a moment,
tired, right? Or you're tired, because I've recognized that of myself at times when I'm extremely tired, I already know.
you're short. Your fuse is
Yes,
short.
I don't have the patience. And I would tell my kids when they come to me about some crazy shit, I do not have the patience. So save that for later.
You can back away, or you would deal with the consequences of what I
Right.
have to say to you,
Because
and it's
I'm
not
going to
just
be
me.
right. Because I don't have the mental capacity to speak
Soften
in
my
a
language
way,
for you.
speak in a way where you're going to receive it.
Oh my goodness.
um, but I know that about myself, right? I know
Right.
when I'm really tired, I don't want to have heavy conversations. I don't want to have to talk to you about anything. If I say to do something, just fucking do it, because right
Right.
now
Right.
I'm tired. I'm
Right.
tired.
Right. So
So, mhm.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, so it's just about really sitting back and figuring out like what are those triggers and what's causing them. Is it, trauma from childhood
Hmm.
that's creeping up? Or is it just, you're
Hmm.
tired or you're hungry or
Right.
you just haven't had enough sleep or you just have a lot of or you're just really anxious at that moment because you got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
And
It's having realistic expectations, right?
mhm,
And letting go of that perfectionism,
yes.
but it's just sitting down and it's just like just like you said, it's just like, okay, think through, like, are you like this for XYZ reason?
Right.
And that is just being realistic and setting boundaries for yourself, for your
Mhm.
children.
Yes.
Um,
That's important.
quickly, what are some strategies for embracing this kind of flexibility and this kind of parenting and this learning process?
Hmm. Well, I think one is you need to be able to adjust your expectations. Um, we've mentioned this throughout our conversation where we may have certain expectations of our children or expectations of ourselves where we see, oh, parents should be a certain kind of way. We need to look at that and adjust that, right? Like, what are some of those expectations that you set for your own child or your children that you need to reevaluate? So that's just something that you might want to
Hmm.
look at and 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 deal with and kind of figure those things out. Um, I've also said, you know, self reflection.
Right.
You want to take a step back a lot of the time, and I'm a big I'm very big on journaling and using
I was
that
gonna say write it
to,
out or talk it
yeah,
out. I've been talking
yes.
to myself, but yeah, but
Yeah,
writing it
no,
out
I
is also very
write,
therapeutic.
yes, writing for me is
Hmm.
important. Whenever I'm just feeling extremely anxious about whatever situation I'm dealing with when it comes to
Right.
my children, I have to write it out. Because for me, writing out helps me see things clearer. Like once I just dump everything,
Hmm.
then I can sit back and reflect on what has triggered me. Why is this happening? How can I approach my child? If it's something that I find either inappropriate or unacceptable, and have that conversation with them. And sometimes it's not immediate. There's been situations where, you know, one of my kids would do something and I cannot deal with that situation at that very moment because it's not going to be good. So I have to
Right.
kind of take a moment and sit back and kind of,
But
um,
that's when you do the breathing techniques, right? Release
yes,
those toxins and
yes,
calm yourself down before
yes,
you react from a place that's just like
yes,
emotional versus like, a place where you're being thoughtful about what it is, what's really the issue at hand.
yeah, yeah. And it helps you to set those boundaries.
Hmm.
Um, because you do need to set boundaries with your children and they need to learn to respect them, but they also
Yep.
need to understand them. It's
Right.
not a do as I say or
Hmm.
just punish them just to punish them. There
It's
has
talking to your kid as a human being.
exactly in the same way you would
Provide
like,
context the same way you want it.
right. It's just like take yourself back when you were a kid
Hmm.
and your parents used to yell at you or
And you're like,
or
what I do?
right, or hit you, or make you do something and you didn't really like it, but you really couldn't say anything about
Hmm.
it. Eh, just be able to talk to your children in a way that, hey, we need to understand each other. I need to understand why you did what you did. And then sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, well, maybe I just need to help my child with how to deal with this situation, or how to help them, navigate this issue that they're having. So it's just being reflective of what's going on, and just accept.
Okay, I
Sometimes
think
it's
that's a great.
acceptance. Sometimes it's just
I
accepting
think that's a
things.
great one to end with is acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
think that's perfect.
Yep.
Like,
You,
you accept, right?
you just need to. Sometimes it's just not that serious. You don't
Right.
like what your child is doing. Like you don't like the way they're dressing, or you don't like.
How much energy do you want to put towards that?
Right. It's
Like,
just like, okay, you don't want to wear a coat.
is it worth that battle?
Okay,
No,
they're doing what they feel called to do, and if it's not causing anything that's gonna, create some serious injury or anything else like that, it's not that serious. It's not that
right.
serious. Just accept what is as is and move on, because
I
there
love
are
that.
much better things to worry about, more important things to worry about.
No, I think that's a great ending point for this conversation is about acceptance and
Yes.
you know, and I'll just add and always just have grace for yourself. You're not
Hmm.
perfect, no one is, and we're all human beings going through our own personal journeys. And for some of you, your journey is being a parent, and there's something for you to learn from that as well.
Absolutely.
So, thank you guys for listening to this episode. And we understand that, as always, there's a lot of noise out there, but our message is consistent. Stop getting distracted by the smoke and mirrors, tune out the noise, and focus on your purpose in life. We're meant to be joyful, so focus on that and vibrate higher. And always, thank you for listening.